some other live streams.
I found out Northern Revolutions. I forgot about their Thursday night thing. Didn't remember.
Okay, that's tomorrow then, because we're
Wednesday. Oh, this is no Wednesday. He said it was today. He left a comment telling me it was today.
Oh no!
So unless I posted it wrong.
The exact same time right now as this, or
you know what? Maybe I posted the wrong time.
Are you double booked already, Brian?
No. I'm not doing the tomorrow one, but it just occurred to me maybe I said the wrong date.
Oh, shit. Well, I do know, like I was briefly like skimming through, and the Waxed has a live stream right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely said tonight. So Jason or Rob saw this and said it was competing with his tonight, but I didn't remember that his was tonight. It's okay.
Oh shit! At the
probably
exact
different
same time.
Yeah, apparently, but that's okay. I think he only gets like 10 or 20 people. Well, I guess that's a good turnout, though, right? That's a good turnout.
Everybody, well, you know what? You're going to be on multiple screens tonight, I guess, multiple channels.
I'm not doing his tonight. It's just
okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. That can work.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Totally fine. Everybody will watch the reruns later, right? We'll all catch up on the reruns.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I was flipping through, and it looks like the Waxed is doing one right now. And he's got Mazzy on there. And they're doing like Austin's record convention.
Oh, nice.
But they're showing kind of the same jazz, brand new sealed records that you would expect to see on Waxed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're going to delve into, okay, so tonight we're going to talk about Record Store Day, which just happened, like a week ago, and the record fairs. So I went to the one outside of the downtown. I went to the one in Mississauga, Etobicoke, and you went to the one right downtown Toronto.
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
So which topic should we discuss first?
Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay.
What sounds good.
Did you pick up records at both scenarios?
I picked up records at RSD and the Toronto downtown show, but I realized I didn't grab them. Should I grab them?
Yeah, it's okay.
I picked up records in both places. So I got RSD stuff and I got the Toronto show. Definitely.
Well, let's get the negative side out of the way right away. Let's start with RSD.
All right.
Right. Easy to pick on.
Yeah.
There was, so when I first saw the titles, I do usually look at the titles, sometimes that website or whatever. And there's always a couple that are sort of interesting, like semi-interesting. And but I assume right away that they're going to be overpriced and not great pressings. Actually, this year there was, I didn't buy anything Record Store Day, so I'm just like hypothesizing. You can confirm or not confirm what I'm talking about. But I believe this year they did repress a Funkadelic record.
Yes.
Parliament, one of them.
Yeah.
Which I already had a repress of. But actually that got me thinking about Parliament Funkadelic, and I ended up buying a Funkadelic Greatest Hits from a different source.
Okay, cool.
So sometimes like it leads me to buy something somewhere else, but not Record Store Day. So where did you go for Record Store Day?
Okay, so I live really close to a store reasonably close to a store called Dead Dog Records, which is it's like an old Sunrise shop that you'd find in a mall if you're old enough to remember those, or downtown Toronto, like a Sunrise. In fact, the guy that owns that store used to manage the Sunrise location on Yonge Street.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I went there first was twofold. First, it wasn't too far away, and secondly, they opened at 8. So in my naive, I was just thinking, oh, well, I'll go to that one, and then I'll have time to go to others, because I'd never done the lineup thing. I'd only gone like later in the day or perhaps later in the week. So as I mentioned in my video, I was confronted with this huge line, 2.5 hours I had to wait. So that's where I went first, with the object of going to another store after, which didn't work out because I took too much. I had somewhere to be, and it took too much time. So that's where I went. And then in subsequent days, I visited some other stores to look at what they had left over.
Now, I thought Dead Dog has 2 locations. They did for a while.
Yeah, they do, but they only do RSD at the Bloor Street location.
The Bloor Street, which the one is that the one that's in the Village, the Gay Village?
No, that's the Church Street one.
That one's bigger. That's like actually
it's bigger.
Location.
Yeah, and actually, Dead Dog moved recently up on Bloor Street. It's in a much nicer space. So. Yeah, so they only do RSD at the Bloor Street one. That's the flagship store, right? That's and so
it's kind of small, that one, but
except it's moved a few stores down, so it's a better shop now.
It's bigger.
Okay. Not as big as I don't think it's as big as the Church Street one, but I like the fact that they opened early, right? Get a head start on it. And for my first experience of going early in the morning, it seemed like the right thing to do. And
Where were you in the lineup? Like, were you like third in the
oh
lineup or
no,
something?
we wrapped around the corner. I couldn't even see anyone ahead of me.
Shit.
And it was funny, several cars slowed down to yell out, what are you guys doing? Because it's a lineup, right?
They didn't know.
People were yelling, buying records. And they're like, they had this
Oh.
quizzical look on their face. Like, really? That's what you're doing? So
It's a thing.
it was funny. But in the later in the week, I went to Played a Record, Sonic Boom, Cops.
Jeez, man.
I was looking for one thing in particular that I didn't get, and of course Rotate This, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. But I did go to 4 other places.
Yeah, what was it you were looking for? I remember in your video. Was it Lou Reed?
Peter Murphy.
John Cale. Oh, it was Peter Murphy. And you ended up getting a Peter Murphy, but like a different
one.
And you're happy with it.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy with it. But it's funny how this is the thing. This is we talked about. Maybe this is one thing I don't like about Record Store Day is the fact that you never really, like, some stores put their inventory online and they'll say we have 2 copies. I don't know if you've experienced that, but you never really are sure if you're going to get it, because even if they have 5 copies, it might be gone by the time you get there. So that's one thing that has always frustrated me. You show up and someone walked away with the thing that you want. So I don't know.
Do you ever watch the guy that he's based in Jersey, very short haircut, balding? Brendan something. He's the CD guy. He has like 1 million CDs.
Occasionally. Yeah.
And he does these things, right, with the local record store. He's buddies with one of the local. So they did their RSD like thing the other day. And it was interesting because the owner of the shop was like, I ordered all these because I thought they were going to sell. They sold in previous years, and then this year like crickets. Or I ordered a whole bunch of copies of this band because I like it personally, but nobody bought Status Quo or whoever the band was or whatever. But yeah, I guess it's a bit of a crapshoot. But as you know, like you and I, we always have fun. Every time we're in Toronto, we go to like Rotate This, and we see how many bins. And I mean, I don't know. I have never asked the staff, but I've talked to other customers. I'm like, what in the fuck? What is this crap? Like, why is there so much of this? I guess they cannot return it. Like, this Record Store Day stuff they cannot return. So it just keeps getting marked down, right? Like marked down and marked down.
Yeah, it does. And some of the stuff is when they announce it that it's a miss, right? You wonder, why would they release that? Yeah. Like, I'm thinking occasionally, I can't remember an example now, but occasionally you'll see like a very common record that you can find anywhere for $5 and they'll be released on Record Store Day. Okay, you're getting a new pressing, you might be getting a better master, but it's really strange to me that they would do that. Meanwhile, there's other stuff that you would think would be more appealing.
And then there's just like, it's just oddities. A lot of it is novelty. I'm going to say like maybe 80% of RSD is novelty. Oh, maybe that's a little high. Okay, maybe a little high, but like 60%, we're talking like the picture disc of Ghostbusters.
Oh my God.
And it's like a song. It's not even the soundtrack. It's like one song.
Yeah.
For $30. That's just cash grab shit.
Yeah.
Really,
and
from the majors.
That's true. And before we came on, you were mentioning the Cure. And I remember last 2 or 3 RSDs are always Cure picture discs.
Yeah.
Want a picture disc? Give me the real thing on.
You need it.
Like, why do we want a picture disc? So it is kind of weird. And sometimes I wonder if people do they have a turntable? Have they ever gone to a Record Store Day before? Like, I don't know, maybe they're new to it, which is fine. Might get them into it, but scooping up picture discs is not my idea of a good time.
Well, the funny thing is I wasn't really preparing for Record Store Day. I planned to not do Record Store Day at all. The last really good Record Store Day experience I guess I had that I can remember is maybe 10 years ago in Toronto. And it was kind of like a spur of the moment thing, like by accident. I happened to be there that weekend. And I think I went to the old Sonic Boom at that point. That was in Kensington Market.
Yeah, okay.
Picked up a few things. But this year I was actually in Mexico when Record Store Day happened. So we arrived in Mexico City and like Friday, Saturday, I guess Record Store Day I think was Saturday. And I had on my list like where we're staying. Our hotel's a nice neighborhood in Mexico City, very safe. A lot of record shops in that neighborhood, just like walking distance. So I head over to like the closest one, Roma Records. I actually didn't go there until like the last day because I went 3 times and there was a lineup around the block for Record Store Day. And they had like somebody performing. Well, it looked like somebody performing, but I think they were actually just signing records.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting for them. Not for me, but yeah, there were all these customers, right? And I'm assuming people bought things and the store was happy. Actually, I was chatting with another store a couple days later in Mexico City. Very cool store, like very well curated. More on the sort of funk soul, Latino, really great curation, kind of very pricey for Canadian dollars. And I was like, shit, did you even do record store day? He's like, yep. He's like, I did it. He's like, I have to do it though, because like, it's like, I get all these new customers. Like you just cannot not do it.
Yeah.
Of. So
that makes sense. I mean, I guess I felt good in a way for Dead Dog Records because they had a huge lineup and they had a lot of people running through. So they must have made some money. So that's good for them. And maybe people will come back. But they were slow inside
regulars, though.
I mean, when it came time to pay, there was only one cashier and the lineup was right to the back of the store. I thought if they had a second person checking people out, they could have had more people in faster. But
yeah, now that sounds like poor planning. Come on.
Yeah, but
shit, that reminds me. I was at Sonic Boom the other day. I think it was a holiday weekend. Like what just happened? Like Easter, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was so packed in Sonic Boom. I was like, is this record store day? It felt like record store day. And the staff were like, yeah, we don't know what's going on. I think what it was is people thought, I think they thought it was going to be closed, and like Sonic Boom almost never closes, I guess, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe for Christmas. One day they close. But pretty good shop. Pretty reliable.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So what did you get at each shop then? Like I don't remember the video.
Oh my God, you're going to challenge my memory here. Let me think about that for a minute. So when I went to Dead Dog, so it's coming back to me now. Yeah. I wasn't sure I was going to get this, but I was in there and the things I wanted, they didn't have. So I felt like I had to buy something. You're in a situation, it's record store day. I got to buy something. So kind of like OMD. So I bought the OMD junk culture demos and rarities. And I thought, okay, that's fine. I'll get that. Okay. And then I looked through, they still have a previous record store day inventory that's half price. So I looked through the bins and I got a Broken Social Scene record and a Joe Strummer live, kind of like an EP.
Yeah.
But the other things I wanted weren't there. So the next day I went to rotate this and I bought a different Joe Strummer, the limited edition Joe Strummer, the pink one, L-Ray, what's it called? X-Ray Style. I bought that one. And then I got nothing at Play-Doh Record. They didn't have anything else. They had very little left over.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I mentioned in the video, I went to Cops, and that's where I found the ancient record store day Peter Murphy 10-inch record, which was still sealed. It's weird that it was sitting there. I still don't understand why they had it. And then I went to Pandemonium, a store I mentioned before, and I got Electrifiction. I always pronounce that wrong. The Echo and the Bunnymen. That's where Ian McCulloch and Will Sargent from Echo and the Bunnymen. I bought that there.
Was that an official RSD release?
It was limited RSD.
Is it any good? Because I was intrigued by that. I didn't know about these side projects.
I think it is. It doesn't sound like Echo and the Bunnymen.
Oh no,
it's a little more. I don't know if I use the term rock, but it's a little more. It's not as. Echo and the Bunnymen is a little more, not synthy, but a little more. I don't even know what the word to describe it is, but it's more in your face. Not in your face is probably not a good description, but it's more aggressive than that. So it's kind of more rocky, I guess you'd say.
Oh, okay.
But the one thing I did notice, having gone to all those stores, was that I saw the same inventory in some cases in different stores, and they were like wildly different prices. I would have assumed that there would be like a suggested price, but in some cases they were really off the mark.
Oh yeah, I think you were mentioning that in your video. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so that was weird. But so I ended up going to those stores and didn't get exactly what I was looking for, but it was still interesting to check it out. So
well, actually. Wilson says the only other incentive Go RSD is discounts for other new used records.
Yeah.
And like what you just described, and that's totally happened to me before too. I'm going in, I guess, for RSD, but I'm ending up buying like RSD record titles from like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
That are still there.
I got a couple of those too. Yeah. So in fact, I was at Dead Dog Records after that, and they still had the 50% off previous record store days. And I didn't see anything else I wanted. But when I was at Cops, like 2 days after record store day, they had all of their RSD stuff was 25% off.
No way.
But there wasn't
days after?
2 or 3. Yeah, within 2 days, I think, or 3 days. Maybe it was
like
3 days.
Day. It's like Boxing Day.
But I mean, in their bins of RSD stuff that was 25% off, I didn't actually see anything that I wanted. So.
But, I have found some good stuff at Rotate This. I don't even know sometimes if was really RSD or not, but I think probably half of it was. Like, we found like coil and weird shit. Like, but it probably was really like 10 years ago, maybe some of it. It's just been sitting there for 10 years, imagine. But
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. When I remember when they changed locations from Queen Street to Ossington,
yeah.
in the first few months they didn't have a sale bin because I think they were thinking optimistically that they wouldn't need one, but now it's full again. It's this massive
Oh, is
amount
it
of
ever full? Yeah. Yeah, it's making me anxious. I can't wait to get back to rotate this because there was also some really nice OG gems last time I was there. But unfortunately, I had hit them up after Sonic Boom, so I was like
Yeah.
out of cash, right? Almost need to go
Yeah.
there first before the Sonic Boom. Strategies,
cool.
right? We're talking strategies.
Strategies.
Yeah, I mean, so have you ever done a record store day outside of Toronto?
No.
No.
Like, okay, so in the first few years, I ignored Record Store Day entirely. It didn't even appear in my radar. And then
Right.
I went a few times, like during the week after, and like looked through the stuff. And
Hmm.
I wasn't even aware that people stood in line in the morning to get in. Like when I was in the line at Dead Dog Records, someone was saying the person at the front had been there since 11 p.m.
Oh.
And then most people showed up at 5 or 6. I thought, well, that's really incredible. So I would go afterwards. And I remember even it was maybe just the last year before the pandemic, I went to a record store day in the afternoon. The first time I'd ever gone to a record store day to a record store on record store day. And I remember going in there and finding something I wanted. But this is the first year I went and stood in line. And I've never done it outside of the city. So this is it.
I don't know if you feel like this or not, but I feel like the titles have gotten worse over the years. I feel like they were better before, or maybe it was just early excitement. Yeah. I don't know, but
I was thinking about that too. And of course, because I ignored the first few years, I didn't really think about it too deeply. Right. But this time around, I did see several things I would have wanted to buy, which was unusual because in the previous few, I didn't see anything I wanted. So this was a different year for me. This seemed better this year than other years, but I guess it depends on what you need. And I get the sense there's differences between stuff that's released in each market. So I think some things never make it to Canada. Is that your opinion? Or
yeah, well, it definitely, like they show on their website, apparently, like some titles are not for North America, some are for different markets, I guess.
Right.
And I have noticed that myself too, because oddly enough, sometimes I'm traveling when a record store day happens. I was in LA one year, and I think it was around the time of record store day. So there would have been some different titles than here in Ottawa for sure. But
yeah.
Even Toronto, Ottawa, like sometimes stuff in Toronto that's not in Ottawa, etc.
Right. And then sometimes inventory arrives late. Like I've noticed that over the last few times. It's like we finally got our shipment of stuff. But
well, let's address like the bigger issue too. Like I've hinted at this in a couple videos. I think we might have chatted about it like off and on. New vinyl versus OG pressings that sound much better.
Yeah. It's a good point.
I just put it out there. No, I mean, like, we've all noticed, right? Like a lot of like older collectors have noticed, right? You know, when you buy the brand, here's the worst case scenario: you buy the brand new record, pull it out of the sleeve, and it has scratches on it somehow. Yeah, it was sealed.
Absolutely
in the factory.
Yeah,
sloppy pressing plants, done fast. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and there's been a couple things, brand new pressings that I've had to take back because they're just noisy. There's not the record looks fine, but it's really noisy.
Yeah, and also kind of thinking about like mastering, like maybe like I think some people have lost the art of mastering for vinyl. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There must be sort of a gap in knowledge because when CDs kind of took over, I know they didn't entirely take over, but when that happened, a lot of expertise would have walked away. So I don't know. People are learning on these ancient machines. I don't know.
It feels like a crapshoot more and more. But I mean, I get the odd good new pressing, but I don't know. I'm like psychologically, I'm getting affected right now about new pressings.
I mean, I have bought new pressings for things that were just unattainable in original pressings. Like you're just never going to get it.
Right.
And it seemed like a reasonable thing to do. But on the other hand, the prices, like I used to think that, well, look at I'm marveling at, I didn't buy this, but the new Peter Gabriel record was on Amazon for $95.
Is that the one with like his hand on his face or something? That's $95.
Well, I've seen it. Sonic Boom has it for like $89.99, and there's two versions of it. So if you buy them both, now I didn't buy it, but it made me think about the relative cost of original pressings because if you're confronted with paying $60 for something, you might think, oh, I'll just get a repress. But maybe that's not true anymore because even the Pixies RSD release, the double album was $80 in the store I went to.
As I say, like the only benefit I see to these high prices of new releases is that it makes the old releases look kind of normal priced.
That's right. That's right.
It was outrageous before to pay $100 for a record. Now it's like, well, I guess, it's cheaper than the new one.
Yeah, that's true. And then you're I guess you're never entirely sure if the original pressing has, if people are concerned about digital artifacts or digital steps in the process. I'm not sure I can hear it, but if you're concerned about that, maybe it's safer to get a original. But I've heard that even in the late 80s they were using digital components to the process of making records. So who knows?
Well, I mean, I go back and forth a little bit sometimes. Sometimes I did for a little while like the idea of like just having a brand new record. There's something nice about like unsealing a brand new Bruce Springsteen.
Right. Wait, do you have any Bruce Springsteen?
Do I really need a new Bruce Springsteen? No, I don't. I have Born in the USA, which is the best album.
Oh, I have a ton of Bruce Springsteen.
I know. The Bruce Springsteen people, they're very particular. It's like the whole thing. Forget Born in the USA. That's the shittiest part of Bruce Springsteen. It was like a whole era before, right? Like the 70s.
Yeah.
But no, you know what I mean? Like something you like that feeling of opening, but I think that's like going now because as soon as I open, then I'm immediately disappointed. Either it's like compressed sound and god awful colors. Like I don't know, how do you feel about the color variant thing?
I'm not so concerned about colors. I picture discs for me never have sounded as good, and I've heard that they're better now, but I just don't buy them. So colors, I'm okay with colors. They've been okay. The one thing I don't like white vinyl because it's hard to see dust on them. I know you can brush them and clean them, but I'm not too concerned about colors. I think sometimes they look good. It's not something. I guess if I was given the choice between black and a color, I'd choose black. And oddly, sometimes they charge more for the color variant, which is a bit strange. But
the odd time I appreciate a color variant, like if it kind of matches the cover, I guess it kind of makes sense. But it just got totally out of control, especially for heavy metal. I don't know about the other genres, but I assume everything. I think every single, even poor Bruce Springsteen probably is on lime green or something. Right now.
I have his greatest hits on red vinyl.
There you go.
There you go. So,
well, how many years have they been doing the variants now? Like, it's not exciting anymore. Is it still exciting to someone to get? Maybe.
I don't know. I remember colored vinyl when I was a kid, but it wasn't a big deal. It was kind of a random thing. There'd be
super
suddenly
random. Yeah.
But now it's this. I guess people. Well, the other thing is they're trying to sell the same record more than once, right? So you buy Uber fans will buy 2 or 3 copies of it. I've seen people in the VC buy the same record they'll buy the CD, they'll buy the color, the other one. It's like that's. I'd rather buy several different things than several copies of the same thing.
It's kind of madness.
Yeah.
I will say, like that Cure one I was showing you earlier. Apparently, this is white vinyl, by the way, which is kind of annoying because I like to DJ with records, and it's very hard to see in the dark between the song.
Right. Okay.
And here's a case where, like literally all these songs they probably have already on other early albums.
Right.
So I can kind of see the case of like buying the same songs, but slightly different versions, maybe not just different variant colors, but some people do that. The Taylor Swift effect, right? They're like, those people are crazy. They will buy 10 versions of the same record.
Well, I was just wondering, do you ever wonder about the idea that they control quantities for RSD so particularly? So for example, it's artificial scarcity. So for example, the Peter Murphy thing was 1,000 copies. They must know that they're going to sell more than 1,000. Why would they only ship 1,000? Like, what is I don't know what the rationale behind that is. Sometimes they have too many and there's leftovers because they misjudge it. But in some cases, you would think they should understand that they're going to sell more of this particular release than they are.
I don't know fully about that. I should send you, I'll send you after this thing. There's a link. There's a music magazine in the States. They had posted a link about book selling the other day. I know that's kind of close to your heart too, because you're a librarian.
That's right.
But okay, so there was this article the other day, and the United States government was like the Department of Justice versus Penguin Books. Penguin Books wanted to buy up another competitor. There's already only, I think, 4 or 5 publishers in the world, like big ones. It was going to go down to 4, and Department of Justice in the United States stopped it because it would be a monopoly.
Yeah.
But anyway, the article goes on about like people think that books sell. Like they think a lot of books sell, but
Yeah.
really it's just like 3 or 4 big giant
Yeah.
authors and like Britney Spears's book or this kind of stuff, and everything else sells like literally, like they had the stats and there's like literally less than 300 copies.
Yeah.
So actually the 1,000 copies of Peter Murphy might not sell 1,000.
That's true.
My point.
On the topic of books, though, many years ago, I was in the world's biggest bookstore, which used to be in Toronto.
Yes.
It wasn't the world's biggest bookstore, but I was standing near 2 employees, and one person said to the other one while holding a book, said, "We sold 3 copies of this last week. Should I put it on the bestseller rack?"
Holy shit.
And I was thinking at that moment, I was like, "Are you insane? 3 copies, and that makes it but I guess it does."
Now I'm glad I read that article just before we went to the New York Art Book Fair. Because at the New York Art Book Fair, which is a big thing once a year, it's been at the MoMA. The one we went to just recently in New York was like 4 floors. It was massive.
Right.
But all independent publishers, like tiny publications, all with an ISBN number. A lot of them have an ISBN number on the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess prior to reading that article, I might have thought like, oh, like this is really small potatoes. Like there's not many people. And then I read that article and it's like, it's all small potatoes.
Yeah.
like there's no big potato actually.
And then Margaret Atwood,
Taylor Swift,
yeah.
Margaret Atwood, that's it.
Yeah.
Everything else small potato.
Yeah. Yeah.
But RSD, yeah, I mean the quantities, how many ship. One thing that bugs me, well, I don't know if I'm even bugged anymore at all, but one thing that I found interesting about RSD, so they have the titles that are unique. What is it? The titles that are unique to RSD, and then the ones that are just first to RSD, and then they're going to be 20,000 copies later or something.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with those because you might
overpay, right?
Yeah, or you could get it later if you just. And I didn't even look at that this year. I wasn't even sure what was first and what was limited. So, but that was weird.
Very weird. So you want to know, like, I don't know if I haven't really been talking to you since Mexico, but in my video I talked about how the prices in Mexico, like, you want to see eye-watering, like we're talking about $90 Peter Gabriel on Amazon is fairly common in Mexico for records. Really? It was like $90 when I converted it, or $70 records. Wow. For sure. I bought a couple 7-inches, like new 7-inches that were $30.
Wow.
Canadian. 2 songs.
Amazing.
3 minutes a song.
Amazing.
But actually, when I looked it up on Discogs, it was going for about $25-$30 Canadian.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Everything's gone up. But I was just talking with my wife about that, like in Mexico. So there's a couple of issues, right? First of all, Mexico City, like everything's pretty much imported. That's new vinyl. And second of all, I think they're pricing it obviously for tourists. And third, they're pricing at some of these shops for American tourists.
Right.
Right. Because like when you convert, they're 800. So 800 pesos is like $70 our money, but like probably only like $47 US.
Right.
So right. So it's not as eye-watering if you're an American. But interesting. But it kind of evened out. Like we did save a lot in other areas of the city, like hotel and transpo and food. A lot of that was cheaper, right? So I was like, it kind of evens out the records.
Also, once you're on vacation, I think you have permission to spend extra money, right? Isn't that the way it goes?
Well, I don't know about you, but I at first you're converting, and then at some point you sort of just go with their currency, right? You're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
and convert later. Like, oh my god,
cost of going on vacation.
Yeah, but it was good actually that I went to Mexico before New York, because it made the prices in New York seem a little lower.
Right. And I think that we're disadvantaged here. I think our prices are higher than the United States, right? Yeah. I mean, it seems to me, and I always hear about those Target sales where there's or the Walmart sale, $15 for maybe not things I'd want necessarily, but $15. So
that's so cheap.
Amazing.
Yeah, CDs got really pricey like in the last year or so from Amazon.
Oh yeah.
I stopped buying a lot of CDs, and I mean, how big is your collection now, Brian?
CDs or records?
Both.
I'd say CDs, it's around 2,000, 2,200.
Yeah.
And then vinyl, probably over 3,000, something like that.
Oh, really?
I think so. I'd have
just over 3,000. Wow. Okay. But you're not a singles guy. I know you did some videos recently on singles.
I have 12-inch singles. I don't have a lot of 7-inch singles. But if I look at Discogs, my Discogs account, I have 5,274, but that's a mix of records and
Yeah.
CDs.
Yeah, like I'm currently at 8,400, but I would say about 1,000 of that is tapes and CDs,
Right.
and then maybe 1,000 at least 500 7 inches out of that.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
I'm
I never collected those. I don't know why. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a few, but I don't know. I never really got into them.
They're collectible.
So I've heard.
Turns out anything is collectible. Almost
Yeah.
anything.
Oh, speaking of the Cure, early Cure singles, yeah. Expensive. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be pretty nice. No, my 7 inches tend to be okay. Well, a couple of phases. Like I went through a big phase of buying all the funk and soul stuff, either to DJ with or whatever, and they were dirt cheap, like $1 a single. You find those everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got into a lot of like hardcore punk 7 inches, which also sometimes are pretty cheap, but like $5 or $10 each.
Right.
It's a big pile of those. And then there'd be some reissue rock 7 inches, I guess. Yeah. That's about it. But lately I've been buying like these funk reissue. There's these specific labels that only release on 7 inch, and they are in the pricey camp. They tend to be from the States or the UK.
Yeah.
$25 a single.
Right. Yeah.
Are you buying a lot of CDs lately?
I'm buying CDs from like thrift stores.
Yeah.
I'm not buying. I haven't bought a new CD. I did buy something at Sonic Boom a while ago. I can't remember what it was, and I have bought a few things that were on Amazon, but were like pretty seriously on sale. But I haven't been buying any full price new stuff. Yeah.
Just a last thing before we go to record fairs on the RSD. Yeah. Is there? I feel like first of all, there is a cassette store day.
Yeah, I've heard about
I don't
that.
know if it's still ongoing, but that was kind of a little thing. And is there a book? I think there's an independent bookstore day.
Is there? Oh.
I think. I don't know.
Didn't know that either. So what, you get a like Margaret Atwood book on colored paper, or what do you get?
I don't know if it's got to the point where publishers publish something specific for it. Because actually when Record Store Day first started, nobody made anything specific for that day, I don't think.
Yeah. Right.
I think it was just go to the store, buy what they already have. There'll be a sale.
And now they clog up the pressing plants with Record Store Day stuff.
Junk. Absolute junk. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess on the positives is it's bringing some new people to vinyl.
Yeah.
Do we need new people to vinyl? I don't know. I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a small shop is going to make some money, so that might be good for them. But
that's good.
I guess the good versus the bad.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't like the flippers, right? Like maybe the flippers are important if they have something you couldn't find, but when you see the next day it's like 4 times the price, that seems a bit strange.
Well, I don't think the flippers are going to last forever. I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah,
I think that will crash. I always mention, like, right, baseball cards and comic books, they crashed in the 90s and 2000s, and you know why they crashed? Because of variants. They had all these comic book variant covers, right? And it wasn't worth anything to collectors anymore because there's too many. It was a glut in the market. Now, I don't know. That hasn't really happened yet in vinyl. And some people, if you watch YouTube, you can see all types of the argument. Some people say, oh, my God, vinyl is only going to go up more because guess what? The Chinese haven't bought records yet. There's always some market somewhere that hasn't got into vinyl yet.
Yeah. Huh.
I'll hang on to my OGs for that moment. And then
yeah. Well, the thing is, obviously, it's challenging to make your money back because you're going to have to sell those like individually, not going to trade them in. If you want to make the most amount of money, you're going to have to sell them individually. But
I hate selling individually on Discogs.
Yeah.
But have you tried that yet?
No, I've never done that. I bought a few things, but I've stopped buying from Discogs because the shipping, as you know, is often more expensive than the record. So I'd like, do I really want to? It has to be something I really want. And I haven't bought anything online from there for quite a while.
Well, that's definitely one of the benefits of being in Toronto.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of choice. But still, there's things that just aren't available. That you'll never see. I shouldn't say you never. Rarely see original Smiths records around. Sometimes, but very rarely. So if you want, sometimes you have no choice, or you just wait.
Yeah, right now that's kind of where I'm at with reissues. Like I'll get the reissue while I'm waiting for an OG to pop up.
Right. And then you keep them both?
If it's something. Yeah. Not always. No, I have sold some reissues. I'm just like totally pissed off with it. I don't want this thing. It's actually really funny because I'll end up reselling the same reissue. Like I think I bought Wu-Tang Clan like 4 times, about fucking 4 times. 36 chambers, my friend, and I never listened to it on vinyl. I mean, I don't know. It's something that's classic, and I loved it when it came out. But
yeah,
if I find the OG, I think I will keep it.
So do you think you lost money every time you sold the reissue on that one, or did you make money?
Oh, I definitely lost money. I'm not a good business person. I'm not into this for money. I mean, but ultimately I'm saving money because I'm saving space, right? Like the space is limited, both mentally and physically.
I always go back to the fact that when I guess when I became interested in CDs, because everyone, big thing, the new thing, I was kind of interested. I sold some records, and I just really irritates me to think of some of the stuff that I sold, right? So so I'm reluctant to sell things now, even if I have some garbage I should get rid of, but I was like, do I want to sell it? Because
Ryan, I'm always telling you, man, you got to sell some shit. You got to trade it in. Here's the deal. Yeah. First of all, you're in Toronto. You can literally find all that shit in an instant the next day if you want.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I've sold some stuff to stores, and I go back to the store a couple weeks later and buy it. Not all of it, but like if there's one, you know what I mean? Like there's always one, you're like, oh shit, actually, I probably need that back. It's okay.
That's why I don't sell anything.
And it's okay because like otherwise you'll never sell anything, right? Like life is about making mistakes, right?
Well, so I'm going to be forced in that situation anyway because I'm running out of space. So when I go through the bins, they'll be like, do I need this, Rod Stewart record I've had since I was 10 years old? Or do I not need it?
No, definitely not.
So
do you ever go through a process of like actually like just dropping the needle on stuff? Like, and do your 3 piles, gotta keep, like maybes, definitely want to get rid of
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
I do it, man. I do it, and it's definitely worth it. Yeah. Probably the first time I really did it hardcore was we were moving apartments, one apartment to another. And I was like, you know what? If I know the new place is smaller, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't come, like it's got to go. And actually, I just find that it's really a fun thing to do because you'll be surprised. There's some records sometimes I put on that I've been keeping forever. I'm like, this is a damn good record. I put it on. I'm like, fuck, I don't even like this. Like,
what if that was just the way you were feeling that day, though? Like,
yeah, no, I know that's a scary thing. It's true.
Like if I don't know about you, but if I'm sick, sometimes I don't want to listen to music. So if I make the mistake of putting a record on, I say, this sounds terrible, but because I'm not feeling great.
No, it's true. I have to be careful of that. Like sometimes, like I put on experimental music. At one point, I'm like, no, this is not the right time for that right now. Like I want something happy, upbeat, whatever. No, I think you can kind of guard for that because you kind of just get this pile going. And like I said, you do the 3 piles.
Yeah.
Mega Jeff I recently convinced Mega Jeff to sell some stuff too. And he's finally gotten around to it. And I'm really proud of the man. I'm very proud of him. And I know he posted a video, I think, where he lost some money on them for sure. Like we all do, right? And but I think he feels good about it overall because get it off your shoulders, right?
So. Yeah. I have some CDs I need to get rid of as well because I've never listened to them in like 15 years. So why do I have them?
Right? Yeah. So, if you haven't listened to it, I think the rule is like 5 years.
Is it 5 years? Oh my God. I'm so wrong.
Yeah, it's 5 years. There's one YouTuber that's like, I think it was for clothing. Like if you haven't worn it in 5 years and you don't plan to wear it in 5 years, you gotta go.
That's Marie Kondo probably. Yeah, I got to do my closet too. This is going to cause me a lot of work. This video.
Dude, your closet. You're the basics guy. You have it's just all black shirts and all white shirts. That's what I figure.
Well,
it's easy, right?
That's because that's a pandemic.
That's what we
thing.
See. Okay.
That's like I was just sitting in front of my computer for 3 years.
You have a whole other wardrobe that we don't know about.
That's right.
Yeah. I have a black t-shirt collection I got to go through. And those are worth money too. But
is that right? Okay.
Everything's worth money. But the thing is, like, are you going to find that buyer? Are you going to take time to package it all up and mail it on eBay? And
yeah, it's too much work for me.
Horrible. Yeah, better to sell in bulk. But yeah, okay, so let's get into the record fairs because holy shit, it sounds like I kind of feel like I dodged a bullet with the record fair, the downtown one that you went to, because it sounded like it was overpacked, too small of a space.
Well, last year I went to the one you went to, and I couldn't go this time. So I went to the downtown Toronto one last year too. In fact, for many years it's been out in the Danforth in I guess it was some sort of church or something, and it was actually reasonable. It wasn't simple necessarily to get to every vendor because it was crowded. But last year when I did it, my friend convinced me to pay the $30 early fee. So we both paid $30.
Let's go to the fair
last year. Last year was $30, and we paid it, and it was a 2-hour head start. After 2 hours, I was done, and no one else had come in. And it was like spacious. It was nirvana. It was amazing.
That's what Etobicoke felt like. That's totally what the Etobicoke
exactly
one was like.
But I thought, then I realized, well, $30, that's quite a lot. So this year it was only $20, and the venue had shifted to this place called the Transat Club, and I hadn't been there for a long time, but it was small. And I think in my video I mentioned it's small. They had fewer vendors. We both paid. This year was $20. So I met 2 other people there. We paid the $20 each to get in.
Yeah.
And instantly I couldn't get to any tables because they were just swarming with people because everyone paid the $20 to get in. So maybe it needed to be $50 or something to give you some space. And so I mentioned that. And also one of the things that was really irritating was the bad lighting. Like this was the worst lighting I've ever seen in any record fair.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I don't understand. Like what?
Well,
because I guess it was a nightclub. Is that what?
It's a theater. They have a stage. They do things. Yeah, but the stage lighting was supposed to be on, but it wasn't. I heard some vendors complaining. They were saying, they said they turned on these lights, but they haven't done it. So honestly, you took a record out of the sleeve and you could not tell the state of the record. So people had their cell phones out, shining their flashlights on it, and it was impossible. So that was irritating for sure. But the one that I went to also last year was much better, right? It was in a big location. It was very spacious.
Yeah, it was great compared to Ottawa. Like I've sold at some record fairs in Ottawa before, and in kind of the same size of room, like one of our kind of convention halls sort of thing. And I mean, as I recall, like it's been wall to wall sometimes, like there's certain hours in the sale where it's like you're shoulder to shoulder. It's very annoying,
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that in Etobicoke for most of the day. And I didn't go, like I wasn't early bird. And now I don't feel so bad paying like $3 or whatever I paid. It's like a $2 cover charge, Poor Brian over there with $30. My God, man, $20. But
yeah, the funny thing is, the weirdest thing is there's this one vendor he actually runs it. I think it's called are they called the Record Guys? I can't remember what they're called, but they're at every sale. They have the biggest table, but they have a series of maybe 10 or 12 big white boxes, but they're totally disorganized. So you're flipping through and you can see Miles Davis followed by like Black Sabbath. It doesn't make any sense. And so people are crowded in there. And if you get into the flow of it and move box by box, you're okay. But I was waiting for the guy in front of me to finish. And this guy tapped me on the shoulder and says, can I switch places with you? And I said, well, if I step out, I'm never going to get back in this line again. And he's kind of irritated with me because it's true. If I'd stepped out, it'd just be this collapse of people. So
did you get around to every single table?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, I did too at the one I went. Pretty much. I mean, there's some tables I just absolutely skip, right? It's like it's just jazz or it's just classic rock.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was one table that looked like he had stuff that was left over from like a thrift store. It didn't look very good. Nothing was sleeved. It looked really rough. And there were like prices of $3. Not to say that you can't buy good stuff for that price range, but it was, it looked pretty rough. But I did look there on my way out. I was going to avoid him because he kind of looked at me and I felt
longingly.
And then he had bins under the table that he was pulling out. So I had to go on the floor and look at these bins that were on the floor.
Did you look through any CDs? Were there CDs there?
There was a CD table, but I didn't look at anything there.
Yeah, I wasn't in the mood for CDs. I mean, you see my video of what I got. I was super thrilled. I got that's the first time I got to say where I went in looking for something and I got it. Like I got exactly what I wanted pretty much.
Oh, cool.
It was my biggest grail was the Cramps, Psychedelic Jungle. Looking for that for years, at least like 3 years. Going to Toronto, going to record shops, asking them. They don't even have a reissue copy. It wasn't reissued very well or very often. So I got that right off the bat pretty much. This one kid, like it was a younger guy from like Hamilton, I think. He only had like 3 little boxes and they were all like jammed with quality and good prices too. $10 Dead Kennedys single, $20 Talking Heads album. Let's go. These are Canadian prices, no tax, no shipping.
Yeah. Wait, so do you have a limit, a price limit per record, or it just depends on what it is?
Yeah, I do sometimes in my head. Like there's certain records, like for example, I was just in New York, right? I picked up that 999 British punk band, right?
Yeah.
I got that for $12. Like I might not have bought that for 20,
Yeah.
but I see it at 12. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like I know I can spin that, and I know there's some good songs on there, but I don't need it. Like with the Cramps, I needed it, right? And I ended up getting the Cramps. I think it was like $60, so super happy. And
Yeah.
I got the Destruction, which is classic metal from the 80s, for like, I think I talked him down to like 70. Like he shaved off $10 because the spine was like all chunky, like just destroyed spine. But everything else looked pretty nice.
Nice.
And that's just an EP, by the way. That's like, 6 songs, runs about, 17 minutes or something for $70. But it's an OG. And it was
Nice.
a really great. Here's the thing though, Brian. So I had such a good experience at that record fair, but I feel like I got everything. Like when I left, I was like, "There's nothing left here."
Oh, is that right?
It's like I'm just done. Like not only am I done, but they're done. I was like, I'm not. I can't come back because there'll be if these are the same vendors like every year after year, every season, and I feel like they are right. I have no reason to go.
Yeah. Wow. That's an interesting thought.
There were a couple of crumbs here and there that I left on the table, but no, generally like I hit up. There was a couple guys. Oh, there was one guy I didn't get into a fight with, but like, yeah, we had an awkward moment. I had an awkward moment with one of the sellers. He was kind of a prick. So I'll just tell you the quick story. Maybe you've experienced a similar thing. So he has he's got a full table. He's got some like rare punk stuff, etc. Older guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, he had like these bins that didn't have any prices on them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Hate right. That. So here we go. Right. So I'm like, okay, what's the price for this bin or these records or whatever? And he's like, okay, that whole bin, like, I think he said like $15, anything in that bin or whatever. Right. So I'm going through and I pull out like a fucking rare punk record that's like something I actually kind of wanted, was thinking in the back of my mind, but it was banged up. Like it was, in fact, I shouldn't have said this, but I pulled it out and I was like, does it play? So that probably pissed him off right there. So he was not happy. Anyway, so I was like, does it play? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, 15. Like, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to pay 15, to be honest. And he's like, well, actually, that's not 15. He's like, that's a really expensive record. And he took it and he put it behind the table. It's not for sale anymore. So, I just walked away. I was like, I'm not going to let a guy ruin my day. I don't need that record. I don't need anything from this man.
That's weird. At the Mississauga sale last year, there was a vendor that had nothing priced. And it wasn't as though he had bins. This bin is 5. This is 10. I had every record. How much is this? He would just, he seemed to know what he wanted though. He wasn't looking everything up on his phone, but he goes, that's 50. That's 40. How do you remember this? And why not put price? Because I have to ask you every single time.
Part of me was like, I should have kept my mouth shut and just slipped the guy $15, right? And took the record. But then the other part of me is like, no, I think he did honestly make a mistake and put a rare record in that bin. We'll never know, right? He never put prices on anything. So
yeah.
What am I, a mind reader?
Yeah,
and that was the only bad experience. Honestly, everybody else was like super friendly. Some people were willing to shave a little bit. Did you haggle at all, or?
I've never really haggled because I remember the last year I went to the Mississauga one and I asked him a price. He goes, after we're done haggling, it will be $60. I was like, oh that's weird.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's $60 and you're not going to change the price.
Or he's mad now.
But I haven't really done a lot of haggling. I mean, because usually I'm just buying 1 or 2 at each booth, and it comes out to a round number.
I don't want to be that guy either. I'm not like that. Like I'm not trying to like get a deal, but just once in a while, it's like I've spent so much money. I'm literally getting low on funds. Yeah. And like, can you do a little something, but actually it was funny. Well, it wasn't really funny for them. One vendor, their tables collapsed.
Oh my God.
The record fair I was like, everybody heard it. Was like, holy shit. And because some people had these really thin tables that were like dipping in the middle.
Oh my God.
With so many records, and it was like, whoa, bending.
Yeah. Crazy. So here's a question I have for you. So when we have gone shopping in Toronto and we go into Sonic Boom, you often will listen to a record. I guess it's probably for quality and for what it is. But at a record fair, you're not going to normally have that option. So does that irritate you, or is that just the way it is?
No, not so much. I do listen to records Well, a lot of times, even at Sonic Boom, I listen to them on my phone. So
Yeah.
I'm really just checking the songs at that
Yeah.
point, not the quality of the
Okay.
pressing, because there's no way, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm just really going visual
Okay.
at those record fairs. And like I said, like the one where I was like, does this play? It was so scratch, Brian. Like you would have been like, fuck, you can't sell this. Like you're selling the cover maybe, and
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
beat up.
Wow.
I did get at that Etobicoke one, I got like one or two that were kind of beaters. But they were priced, they were like $15 or whatever. And like the Nils record, do you know the Nils?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Canadiana. I know you're
Yeah.
Canadian.
Vaguely. Yeah.
Love Canadian rock. Kind of punk rock band. Yeah, they're cool. So I got one of their records, and I've never, you know what? I've never even seen one in the wild.
Yeah.
It was the red cover. The original was a yellow cover, so I got the second pressing.
I don't think I've heard that whole record, but I'm familiar with them. But
you know, it's very short. I think it's like 4 songs. It's an
okay.
EP.
Okay.
Yeah. They're a bit like, I would almost say like a cross between like if the Northern Pikes hung out with the Replacements.
The Northern Pikes with the Replacements.
Yeah, well, because it's Canadian, right? But
Yeah.
it's not SNFU. Like it's not hardcore punk. It's melodic punk.
Right.
It's kind of like the Minnesota sound of Replacements. Husker
Right.
Du, but no, definitely not as complex as Husker Du. No.
Right.
Husker Du is pretty original in some ways.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Very good band.
Did you do so? The video, like, did you do a video? So you did a video with Rob, is it? The stream?
We recorded the video on Sunday. That's going to be published later this week on his channel about Canadian music.
About Canadian music, yeah, okay. So give us a little teaser here on what kind of Canadian music did you guys cover? Like,
oh my God,
classic rock? Did you go indie? You went indie punk?
One of the things that came up was what's an artist or a record that you think more people should know about from from Canada? That's one thing that came up.
Would you go with like, Cowboy Junkies?
I think they might have been mentioned. I didn't mention them. No. Another thing was, what would be like if you had a Mount Rushmore of Canadian artists? What would that include? That kind of thing. And then
that's a good one.
And some sort of concerts we have seen, notable concerts with Canadian musicians. So I think we're going to do it again, and it will be focusing on Canadian music from the 80s.
Nice.
So there were 5 of us, and there were supposed to be 6. One person couldn't make, so there were 5 of us. So it did take a long time to go around to everybody, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
It was kind of interesting, but
Mount Rushmore, that's only like 4 artists, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't even think I mentioned 4, but just the idea of, the what is the pinnacle of Canadian music.
Who did you put like, so, okay, I'm going to guess. So Rush, I don't know if that counts as one. Rush, Gordon Lightfoot, Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen for sure for you.
I didn't mention Gordon Lightfoot, but he came up. And I'm trying to remember who I mentioned. I might have mentioned Neil Young, actually.
Neil Young, okay.
I'm drawing a blank on what I was first person called upon. And I wasn't really prepared for the question, so I think I mentioned.
It had to be spur of the moment.
Yeah, well, there was a general idea of what was going to happen.
Alanis Morissette.
And then, do you know Peter, who lives in Japan? He's Canadian, lives in Japan. His channel's music is a journey.
Is bald as well?
No. His channel's music is a journey. And
I must know him, but probably by face.
I mean, this is the funny thing. He was talking about Blood Ceremony, which I had to admit I didn't really know much about.
No.
Or anything.
I don't know who that is either. Is that a metal band or?
I don't know.
Sounds like a metal band. Should be a metal band.
Yeah, it's a good name for a metal band. But anyway, so there were who else was there?
Did they mention Voivod or Pile Driver? Or
I think Voivod came up. Yeah,
Canadian metal. Yeah.
Jason Arsenault was there. And for some reason, Rob, Peter, me, and I'm forgetting the last name.
Rob is. I think he's the guy that lives in. Does he live in Guelph or something? Or
I think that area. Yeah.
He lives outside of Toronto. He doesn't live in Toronto. Yeah.
No, but he works down here, so he comes here frequently. I've met him a few times for excursions to the record stores. Margaret
O'Hara better be on that Mount Rushmore.
I didn't mention her. I feel bad because I love that album. Her album is fantastic, but I didn't mention it.
I mean, Canadian music, it's a bit of a specialty, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, Rob is very passionate about Canadian music, and his focus is on the I would say his Blue Rodeo is his favorite band, so
Like
that's
the big name,
alt
bigger
country
name.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was interesting having Peter there, who's more interested in heavier music. But it's funny, I if someone said to me, what's a good Canadian band, I struggle with that, because either they're really well known everywhere and everybody knows them, like Rush or Neil Young, or
I go right to Rush.
You're right to Rush, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think you get good respect with Rush.
Yeah.
I mean, some people hate him, but most people respect Rush, I think.
I think they do. I mean, I understand people have concerns about Geddy's voice in the early days. I didn't have that issue with them, and I think the music is so good.
I like the voice, yeah. And
I don't mind the voice either. But I will say that in later years, in concert, he couldn't hit those notes anymore, so he was essentially out of tune the entire concert, unless he sang the later stuff, which really grated on me. But other people didn't seem to care.
Well, I've only seen them. I only saw them twice, and it was both at an outdoor festival. So sound is always a little murky anyway. So I didn't notice anything.
Yeah. But I mean, from a musician's point of view, they are locked in. Like they were, amazing.
Bass, drums. That being said, I don't own a single Rush album.
Oh, is that right?
Not a one. Now, there, like your question earlier, that's what applies. There's a case where I'm totally looking for. I've been looking for a Rush album for $10.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen.
You're not going to find it.
But I'm probably going to have to up it to 20 and just pony it up. And I'm not sure which Rush album I'm going to get, because probably the Windows one. I really like kind of their 80s sound.
Well, then I would suggest Signals, probably.
Yeah, like there's one or two albums I would like to have, but I'm not a catalog guy. Like I find there's a lot of, like, they're long songs. I'm not a big prog rock guy anyway, so I wouldn't sit down and listen to Rush every day.
Yeah.
Be want some. Now, No Means No. Harris is mentioning them. I would love to get some No Means No on vinyl. They are not well known. I don't think, Brian, do you know them?
I don't.
See, we've stumped Brian. Classic punk band, really minimalist, from Victoria, BC. They were on Jello's label, on Alternative Tentacles and others. But I think Alternative Tentacles has been the one sitting on the rights, and they're very slow at reissues. They hardly ever do any reissues, that label. So, but it's cool. Like, they'd be kind of like a little bit like Primus, but not like as ridiculous. A little bit more hardcore than Primus, but a lot of bass, because the two instruments are just bass and drums, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write that. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Very cool band. Yeah, no, I think you'd probably dig it. Yeah, let me know. Check it out online and let me know. Get back to me on that. But they're pretty funny, like, lyric wise. They're brothers, actually. I think there were two brothers.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
They might have had a third guy at one point. And have you ever heard Deja Voodoo? You've heard Deja Voodoo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They're not like that, though, because Deja Voodoo is more like rockabilly, sludgebilly, minimalist, right? These guys are a bit more, like I said, like Primus, kind of like almost getting into that 90s hardcore scene that was like post-hardcore scene that was like Fugazi and those bands, early 90s, late 80s.
Right.
And Alternative Wilson, is right. Alternative Tentacles is reissuing. And I saw it on Amazon, and immediately they were like $50 a record.
Oh.
So that means, but the OG is probably $100. So choices.
It's close.
Choice. I'm gonna have to start I'm gonna start a little piggy bank for like the $50 record and the $100 record.
You could just get a GoFundMe.
I should start a GoFundMe
or you get
and for OGs, and let's see who gives me the most money. Like, which one wins? Like those tip jars when you go to Starbucks, they have like pay this one versus that one.
Oh, I guess I rarely go to Starbucks
or any cafe, really. I don't do that, but
yeah.
So No Means No, I would definitely recommend. Who else would you recommend for Canadian? I don't know. Like, well, Leonard Cohen and Joni Mitchell.
I mean, those are the obvious ones, right? I was trying to think of something that's not obvious, but a band that I actually have liked fairly well is Japan Droids. They haven't put a record out in.
I had a couple of their records. I liked them too for a while.
But
they were a duo too. They were.
That's right. Yeah. But I don't think they've had anything since maybe 2019. So I don't know what's happening with them.
Yeah.
And I used to think that it was I don't think I'm actually really in touch with Canadian music, because if you watch Uncommon Pallor, he mentions things I've never heard of before. That's Canadian. And it's like,
Oh, that
what?
Mike is his name. Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy. He has a killer collection,
Yeah.
killer taste, killer knowledge. Mostly of punk, like the underground
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, metal too.
So I
But
feel
no,
like,
I would say like you're one of the channels. I mean, for indie rock, like I mean, I don't think there's an Arcade Fire record that you don't like.
you know what? I don't even own the last two.
What? Brian, you got to get honest. Come on now.
Yeah. Was it Everything Now and We? I think it's We. I don't know. I don't own them.
Yeah, there's a few, like there'll be a few videos that you'll post, and I'm like, I don't know any of this at all. And I didn't know anyone bought this stuff. And you're probably thinking the same thing. Who the hell buys this satanic crap that guy has?
No, well, the thing about your channel that I've always loved is you so flow seamlessly between like metal and punk and disco and
And
soul.
disco, yeah, I know,
It's
right?
like disco. You just mentioned like,
Yeah, death metal.
yeah.
And yeah, I know. And I've probably lost a lot of subscribers over the years for that. I was noticing my count the other day. So, because you and I are pretty close to the same count. I think you're like 900 now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
950.
So I was over 900, and then I lost like 2 or 3. But I'm kind of getting more interested in higher view counts of actual videos
Yeah,
than the subscribers. Because I've also noticed that, like, sometimes there'll be a guy who's like 50 subscribers, but he has like 1,000 views.
yeah. What's happening with that?
Well, yeah, I'm like, whoa. I've been focused on the wrong thing, clearly. But
I have to say, I do like comments though. That's
yeah,
for some reason
you want to have
kind
that
of
engagement.
means more to me than a view, because a view is triggered after what, 30 seconds.
True. Oh yeah, no, I know, you're right.
You're saying, and then when you look at your average view duration, like if you put out a 10-minute video and the average duration was 2 minutes, you know that many people watched 10 seconds and left.
Yeah.
So it's like, what did I
Well,
say?
I'm hoping they're a bit like me. Like I do skip through sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just
Oh,
because I
man.
want to see the records, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I'm pressed for time. Maybe like I don't have time for 20 minutes.
You don't speed up the playback like some people put it at like 1.5 or 1.7.
I could do that, but then you'd all sound like Mickey Mouse or whatever. I suppose I could. Can you do that though when you're broadcasting on the TV? I think so, right?
Netflix. Oh, I don't know about that, but
You
it
can
depends
on
on your
phone.
TV. Yeah, no,
on
it
your
depends
phone,
on
you
your
just press
TV.
the button.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember Netflix rolled out a thing you can also watch their programs at faster speeds, which is kind of weird when you think about it.
To
But
consume more.
I think if your TV allows you to change the settings, you probably can. But I never watch it
Yeah.
on my TV. It just seems I can't really comment then.
I can comment if I'm watching on TV, but the one thing that doesn't work anymore with my Google, whatever, is I can't like watch a live stream and comment.
Right.
There's some kind of glitch, and so what I've done sometimes I'll have the live stream on the TV, and then I'll have my laptop running the same thing, and so I can make the comment. This is like hardcore. This is like baseball inside the baseball knowledge right here.
Right.
YouTube VC knowledge sharing. But yeah, overall, any new channels that you've been that you've discovered, or just watching the same stuff? Or
there's a guy called Mark Morris. Do you know his channel? Heavy into Beatles, though. If you don't want Beatles, then I'm not a Beatles person either. But he occurred to me though. Also, that one I saw the other day was Northern Ontario Vinyl Guy. I think is that what he's called? Something like that.
Oh yeah.
Totally new to me. He has like 20 subscribers. Never heard of him before.
Yeah, I just discovered like 2 channels yesterday that were both like under 40 subscribers kind of thing, and pretty decent. I think one of the guys made a comment on one of your videos, so that's how I found him.
Oh, okay.
And then another one, and I subscribed to both, and yeah, they just have like a few videos each.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing I'm finding now is the more people you follow, the harder it is to keep up. And I'm not simply talking about time, but what YouTube feeds to you. Yeah. So you look at your feed, you reload it, you might refresh the screen, and then an hour later you see a video that pops up that was posted yesterday and you never saw it. So that's sort of hard to keep up, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go to like your subscriptions and you have to click on each individual
one, the blue dot or whatever. So
yeah, I've unsubscribed to some channels too, just because I never watch them.
So right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like to mix it up because you're right. It kind of sends you the same guys over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes. Cool. Yeah. So where will we see you next?
Where we
Another
was
live
doing
stream.
it.
Now, like, is this your first live stream? This is not your
No, no,
first.
no, no, no.
No.
So the video I filmed last Sunday will be up later this week. I'm doing a. Gotta check my
There's Ryan.
calendar.
He's from Canada. Yeah.
I'm doing a. Well, apart from my regular videos, I have a 3 continents live stream coming up.
Oh,
That's
oh my
end of
God.
May.
Is that going to be in the middle of the night or something, or what?
Well, I'm hoping it still works because we're trying to get England, Australia, Canada in the mix. So the timing is a little awkward,
Right.
and it might fall apart because our Australian person might be leaving the country that night. So it may or may not happen. But that was the idea: 3 continents, which is kind of cool. But apart from the regular scheduled stuff, I think that's the next thing that's coming up, unless I'm forgetting about something, which can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some videos. You saw my video for like 1-word album titles.
Yeah.
That got deeper than I thought it would be. Yeah, it got deep. Or maybe it's just me, the abstractness of it all. But
yeah, I considered doing something on that topic, but my brain wasn't really working on that.
Yeah, well, I've had kind of a week to like Metal Mickey. Do you watch Metal Mickey? Do you know that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, man. When I first started watching that guy, it was in the pandemic, and he's just like typical Scottish guy. He doesn't give a shit. So he would come out in his bathrobe. In some of the early videos, he's sitting in a chair with just he doesn't give a shit. He's wearing his bathrobe and talking like whatever. And yeah, he's opinionated, would say. But yeah, he's got some cool taste. And anyway, so he did this thing of like 10 best album titles, but I think mostly for like the metal community, right? So
yeah.
So that got me thinking. So then I started what I'll do is I'll keep notes in my phone of like album titles as I look through my Discogs page or whatever. So I've sort of got a top 10 list of that. And then I had this other top 10 list of just single word titles. So I might do that top 10 thing.
Yeah. That's a tough one too.
Is there any other threads right now or nothing else? What did you do recently?
What did I do recently?
You did your singles.
12-inch singles.
Singles. I
Well,
feel like you're still doing Canadian or something like you.
I was doing this thing about songs about Toronto, or
that's what it was. Yeah,
and I was doing bands from Toronto, but recent finds, and I'm doing there was the Randall Weaver one, the 100 times you've listened to something, and then my John Cale thing, which nobody watches, so that's continuing.
My sympathies, my friend, but I don't really like John Cale either. So
it's fine.
No, I mean I like him, but I've never liked him enough to buy a John Cale record.
Really? Oh, I find that interesting.
Maybe I don't know where to start, or it just hasn't happened yet.
Some people confuse him with J.J. Cale, and I think that's one of the things that happens. So,
yes.
in fact, some guy said that to me.
Yeah,
I know J.J. Cale. No, different guy. But because I like the Velvet Underground so much, like
I do. Sometimes I get late to a party, right? Like just recently, I'm getting into like Roxy Music, right?
Right. Yeah.
And like that was there
40
forever.
years late.
Like I've done that years ago. Didn't.
Right.
Brian Eno, maybe a little bit. Robert Palmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big classic rock guy. John Cale. See, that already happened. John Cale's not classic rock. He's like Velvet Underground. He's the other guy, not Lou Reed, right?
Well, the thing is, and this comes out if you watch all 8 parts of my videos, is that he
give us a summary for God's sakes, man.
I mean,
8 parts.
He does these sort of really weird experimental records. They're sort of strange, odd. He did one with Terry Riley, Terry Riley from the minimalism. But then he did a record that was purely classical. Then he did stuff that was proto-punk almost. So he's all over the map, and sort of Baroque pop. He's kind of everywhere. So,
well, that might be the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's actually a brilliant musician when you think about it. He's classically trained, multi-instrumentalist from Wales. Interesting guy. Still alive. He's getting a new record coming out this year. He had one last year. He's got another one this year. And he's 82 or 83 now.
Well, I kind of feel, I don't know if I'm correct or not, but I kind of feel like you're less interested in genres maybe than I am. Maybe that's why you like John Cale, because John Cale sounds like an artist that is not a genre kind of guy. From what you just
that's
described.
Probably true. And for years, he kind of gave up rock music and he just did soundtracks, and they were largely based around the piano. And then kind of came back and did some more what would be like pop kind of things, right? So all over the place.
Yeah, like if he pumped out a country album, you'd probably buy it.
No, I
No,
can't.
okay, oh, okay, all right. Now we know your
That would
boundary.
be
I
the
was like,
that would be the line in the sand.
what is your line? Okay, I was
Country
trying to
music.
see. I don't mind a little bit of country, more like the classic stuff, like Tammy Wynette or something, or
Yeah,
Johnny Cash,
it's something
or
about
Hank
it. Like
Williams.
I've thought about this a lot because people have kind of taken me to task for don't be ridiculous, country music's right, but it's partly the twangy voice. Now I do
Okay,
like a singer songwriter that goes to the roots, like a rootsy kind of singer songwriter. But
yeah, I like Roots.
country music, it's the combination of that twangy sound, maybe the
Lyrical
lyrics that are a little
content.
bit. Sorry, what?
The lyrical content.
Lyrical content, and also I've never been a fan of steel guitar, so anything that has steel guitar in it I'm gonna not really like.
Instant
But
turn off.
and also, as I've mentioned before, my parents listened to a lot of country music, and my grandparents. My grandfather used to call square dances, and my
Oh,
uncle was in a country
yeah.
western band. So I heard so much country music when I was growing up that it just sort of. And the funny thing is, my cousins were they were like heavy metal guys, but if
Okay.
they weren't listening to heavy metal, they were listening to country music. So it was this weird
Wow.
mix of stuff. So,
See, you think my disco and death metal is weird?
but man, I just can't get into country music with some exceptions. Okay, I will say that the last 6 Johnny Cash records I thought were amazing.
Yeah,
So they were good, and
yeah,
I think Glenn Campbell was an amazing guitarist.
yeah.
But yeah, I could never really get into it though.
Well, I recently picked up a record at the book fair there in New York, the Swamp Dog thing, and I'm kind of disappointed. I'm going to give it a chance because I think it's kind of country, and I was hoping it was more blues roots, and I think the
Yeah.
guy has done blues stuff, but it turned out to be country, so that was a little bit of a disappointment.
You remember, like maybe a couple of years ago, people were talking about, well, maybe recently too. Orville Peck was a name that kept coming up all the time in the VC, and I tried to listen to it. And I just had the same reaction I have to
Yeah,
country music. Maybe I should listen to it again. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, are you a big collector of jazz?
Um, all of my jazz is pretty much on CD.
Oh, okay.
I only
Wow.
have maybe 2 jazz records. I don't know why that is,
Wow.
but I do have some on CD, and that's like Miles Davis. I have like a 8 CD box set, and I have Kind of
Okay.
Blue and that kind of thing, Sketches of Spain, Bitches Brew, that kind of stuff, but all on CD.
Wow. I know that you dabble sometimes in some hip hop
Yeah,
in your collection. I don't think you have much metal at all. I'm going to guess like Black Sabbath. That's about it.
Black Sabbath. If you consider Led Zeppelin metal, I have Led Zeppelin. I have Van Halen, but again, is that really metal?
Hard rock. Yeah.
Yeah, hard rock. And
Def
apart
Leppard.
from that, that's probably the extent of it.
No Def Leppard.
No Def Leppard.
Wow. The first 3
Although
albums
the
are
first
good.
the first 2 records they put out, I knew very well because of my cousins. I just
Yeah.
heard them endlessly, but I don't have any. I don't know.
I guess well, first of all, I grew up as a metalhead first, as a little kid. And so I love like the glam stuff and then the speed metal and all that stuff was kind of happening as I was growing up. But I also kind of like metal, like some of the more extreme metal nowadays, because it sort of links with experimental music to
Yeah.
me in a way, because it's unlistenable.
I do like the later Ministry where they take a sort of metal-ish kind of
Yeah.
stance, right? So I do like that.
Like industrial metal.
Yeah, industrial metal. I think, and 9 Inch Nails,
Yeah.
of course, but that's But I heard a lot of Iron Maiden.
I feel a little bit vindicated coming back from New York, listening to all this no wave stuff. So watching these like videos about like the history of no wave music right in the 70s in New York, and it's like sludgy and noisy and atonal guitar, and leads to bands like Swans who got into metal. But then there's like funk jazz side of no wave as well. So perfectly fine to like disco and metal.
Yeah, and for me, the hip hop is
They're a
not.
no wave band.
I don't buy a lot of new hip hop or any new hip hop, but one of the weird things about
You like the classics.
yeah, and partly was because of the radio station I was listening to. And I mentioned the station before in a video, CFNY, which in Toronto, which was this for me really important radio station because it played a lot of the 80s music like the Smiths and the Cure and that kind of thing. And they had some ownership battles because they were always on the verge of being taken over. And eventually they were purchased by another company. But before that happened, they sort of made this move into like things like LL Cool J and Eric B, Rakim.
Nice.
And I kind of really gravitated to that because it really, and Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. So that kind of stuff I got into. Nina Cherry, partly because it was being played on the radio station I was listening to. And Public Enemy. So I do like that stuff. Yeah.
Well, did you listen to, when you were younger, Brave New Waves on CBC?
No, well, maybe occasionally, but not really frequently.
Oh yeah, I was religious with that because I grew up in New Brunswick, so there was like no way of hearing underground music. Like that's how I discovered, industrial music, Butthole Surfers, Big Black, Tackhead, you name it, like, and hip hop, and they would play like Public Enemy and some of the early hip hop stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's
and they would do these profiles, like every night they would do a profile on a band.
Right.
And that was like the best thing. And I had this whole collection of tapes of Brave New Waves, but I got rid of a bunch of them, and like that hurts because that's not possible to buy again.
Oh man.
I don't even know if they were archived they must have been archived by the government or whatever. It's a government station, right? But
right.
That's how I got into it. But yeah, I love, and for me, spinning, like I'll spin anything 80s for me works. Like whether it's underground or I like 80s pop, I like 80s new wave. It seems like anything from that decade, almost anything. Maybe not country.
So you'll listen to like Skinny Puppy and then Cindy Lauper.
And then what? Skinny Puppy?
That's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do. I like Dokken, and I like Skinny Puppy, and I like Def Leppard, and I like Rob Bass, and I like I don't know how, but it just happened. 90s is a little trickier for me, I mean, it's trickier for everybody, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Because a lot of people have switched to CD, so they don't have those on vinyl.
Thing.
Yeah, Skinny Puppy are Canadian. So did they come up in your discussion?
I don't know if we mentioned Skinny Puppy. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
Also, is it Mark at Twanger's Turntable says he's sure you have a Number of the Beast album?
That's a record I know inside and out because every time I got into my cousin's car, it was playing. So I know it. I should own it because it would bring back memories. But I do know it. I don't own it.
It's one of their best ones. I think that was my introduction to Maiden, was that album.
Yeah.
But I also really like the first two albums with the other singer quite a bit.
Right. Yeah.
More punky.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we should wrap it. That's we covered the topics, people. I hope people are happy. Brian and Jason's take on RSD 2024. Probably be the same take next year. We'll see. Let's do it again next year and see if two grumpy old men have the same exact opinion.
Yeah.
And record fairs, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
Covered it. When's the next record fair? It would be next season, I think. Now.
Did you ever go to that site? I think it's called vibrations.ca. Is that the one? It lists them all. So there's things that happen in like Scarborough or Oshawa and Hamilton. They're all listed there.
Yeah, it gets quite out there, right?
So,
yeah, and I'll be back in the Big Smoke soon enough. Probably like next week sometime. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
If you're around, let's meet.
I'll check my schedule. I might have something. I have something in the middle of the week, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, well I'll be there for a few days anyway. So
okay, all right.
Work out. Thanks a lot for doing this, Brian.
All right, cool. That was fun.
See you around. See you soon.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.